The flavor of s'mores is such a nostalgic, quintessential summer dessert for me, and I love turning into a macaron. And while I have tried so many renditions, and there are so many bakers out there who have their own version of s'mores macarons, I've kind of landed on this as my favorite and now go-to s'mores macaron recipe. For the macaron shell, I am just going to make a pretty basic shell, but I am going to crush up some graham crackers to sprinkle on the top, both for decoration and then also for that added graham cracker flavor. I will also be adding some graham crackers into the buttercream, but more on that later. I am using the French method here for my macaron shells. You can use whatever you want. Just make sure you whip your meringue to a really nice stiff peak before you are adding in the dry ingredients. While my meringue is whipping, I really like to just crush up some graham crackers. I know you can actually buy like bulk crushed graham crackers, but honestly it does not take much, especially for a small batch. So I usually just use a plastic bag and a rolling pin and crush up the graham crackers myself. Now, I do like to pulverize this pretty intensely, get this like really fine crumbly sand kind of consistency. Though if you do want larger pieces on the top of your macarons, you could leave some of those larger chunks in there. That is completely up to you. Can set aside the graham crackers for now while you work on incorporating the rest of the ingredients into the meringue. Now the meringue is of course the egg whites, sugar, and cream of tartar if you're adding that in. And now I'm going to be adding the remaining ingredients, the almond flour and powdered sugar. I have already sifted those together so they are nice and fine, no lumps in there at all. And as you can see, I've transferred my meringue out of my KitchenAid bowl and into a much larger, wider bowl. I really like to do that so it helps me visualize everything in the bowl, and I think it gives me more space to be mixing and then finishing the macaronage a little bit easier and more quickly. Though you could obviously do this in the bowl of your KitchenAid or whatever mixer you are using. That is totally fine. I really want this to be just like a white shell with the graham cracker being a little bit of color and texture. But if you did want to go for more of like a chocolate colored shell or a tan kind of graham cracker colored shell, or really honestly any color shell you want, you can add in that colorant while you are whipping the meringue. Or if you want to add it in now or split the batter, you can really separate your batter out after either you've mixed in all the dry ingredients or start adding in colors now while you are folding those in. That is whatever works for you is totally fine. As soon as I get these dry ingredients incorporated, I'm going to start the macaronage process and mix until I have reached the ribbon stage. What I'm looking for is that my batter flows from my spatula back down into my bowl, and within about 30 seconds, that trail or ribbon of batter will kind of sink back into the rest of the batter in the bowl. Once I reach that ribbon stage, I'm just going to transfer my batter to a piping bag fitted with my piping tip, and then I have those graham cracker crumbs at the ready. I really like to use the 804 piping tip or maybe 803 piping tip, but you can really honestly go larger or smaller depending on what you prefer and what works best for your kitchen and the size of macarons you are making. I am going to pipe these, tap the tray, then sprinkle on those graham cracker crumbs. And it is super important to go in that order, because if you pipe, then add the crumbs, and then tap your tray, all the excess crumbs are gonna fly everywhere and get all over your kitchen. If you wait too long though, after tapping your tray, if you let the macarons rest first before adding them on, the graham cracker crumbs will not stick to your macaron shells unless you really shove them on there. So that's not really a great idea. So pipe your macarons, give the tray a little tap, right away sprinkle on the graham cracker crumbs, and depending on what vibe you're going for, you can have the really powdery, fine, sandy looking crumbs, or again, a mixture of large and small, or just some larger pieces. It really depends on what you are hoping for. I really like to rest my macarons just on my counter for 20 to 30 minutes though. When I was living in Portland, I honestly would go for like 40 minutes because of all the moisture in the air. I think it took a bit longer. And when I was in France, I usually did about 30 minutes. So depending on where you are, you might want to adjust that. In my home kitchen, I bake these for about 16 to 18 minutes at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, while those bake and cool, I'm going to finish everything I need for my filling. So I've got some vanilla buttercream here, a couple bowls of mini marshmallows, some regular chocolate ganache, and then more of those graham cracker crumbs. This is a really basic ganache recipe, and I will share that down below. It is just a standard ganache. If you have a favorite one, you can use that. I also have a small little blowtorch here. It is pretty important if you have like a creme brulee torch or just a regular old blowtorch. I think that is kind of important. I'm going to use it to toast my marshmallows. Why I prefer this to just putting them in the oven. If you put them in the oven, I found that they get pretty crispy and they lose some of the soft stretchiness, especially after they've cooled. But if you do it this way, only the outside heats up and gets crispy and burnt, so you get the flavor but still have a really nice marshmallow texture. So I'm going to transfer a couple of these to my other bowl of marshmallows, and then I'm going to melt all of these with just a hint of butter in my microwave. Definitely keep an eyeball on that because it will explode quite easily. Then I'm just going to stir it up until I basically make a marshmallow paste. If you have marshmallow fluff on hand or you want to make your own marshmallow fluff, you could also use something like that, though I think it's easy if I'm buying mini marshmallows just to use those as well. Now I'm going to transfer that toasted marshmallow goo stuff into my buttercream with the rest of the graham cracker crumbs, and then whip that up until everything is incorporated and smooth. Now that I have everything ready to go, I'm going to just fill these macaron shells and get them into my refrigerator or freezer to mature. I'm piping a ring of that buttercream, again the marshmallow graham cracker buttercream, then the chocolate ganache on the inside, and then I'm going to plop one of those toasty marshmallows right on top. I have found that this combination gives you just enough of each of the flavors to really give you a s'mores vibe without any of them being too overpowering. I think if you use more ganache than this, it can be too chocolatey and you kind of miss out on the slightly more subtle graham cracker flavor, especially, and the marshmallow. And I also think if you don't add the toasted marshmallow into the buttercream and into that kind of marshmallow goo, you also kind of miss out on that element of the sort of campfire feel. So I hope you enjoyed my rendition of s'mores macarons. I certainly enjoy making them and eating them. Let me know if you give this a try. You can always tag me on Instagram at Maddie Brame to show me your results. I'd love to see them. All right, until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.